Venom, Let There Be Carnage, released in theaters earlier this month, and the film doubled down on many aspects of the first film. But more isn't always better. In my opinion, both movies are really phenomenal and have their own distinct space in the superhero genre. I know the quality of the first movie is controversial, but me and everyone around me really liked it. While it's not necessarily deep and philosophical, it's just loads of fun, and so is the sequel. I've done another versus video on my channel before, comparing the two most recent Animal Crossing games, and if you don't know, the format is as follows. There are multiple categories that these two movies will be compared to. Each time a movie wins that category, they get 1 point. Whichever has more points by the end wins. Also, if there is a tie, then we'll resort to critic and general public reviews. Enough rambling, let's bite right into this video. But first, remember to like, subscribe, and comment down below for more Marvel, Spider-Man, and symbiote action. Tell me down below which Venom movie was your favorite and why. While you're at it, check out my Instagram account, JMComicsArts, for more content and a list of symbiotes that haven't appeared in the Venom movies yet. Let's get this tournament started. The categories of analysis are humor, round 1, humor, round 2, villains, round 3, horror elements, round 4, originality, and round 5, plot slash pacing. Let's get right into it. Round 1, humor. A movie about Spider-Man's most brutal nemesis doesn't sound like it would focus on humor. However, in today's society, humor is a common staple of superhero movies. So evidently, both Venom movies heavily feature humor, primarily about Eddie and Venom's eccentric relationship. The first Venom movie starts off with a deeply serious tone for the first 40 minutes, until the Venom symbiote itself actually appears. Afterwards, comedy is heavily sprinkled throughout the plot. The one joke that really stands out to me here is a scene where Venom and Eddie are on top of a skyscraper, and Venom suggested they jump off of it. The camera then cuts to them waiting for an elevator inside of that skyscraper, and Venom calls Eddie a pussy.
Jump, pussy.
On the other hand, Let There Be Carnage completely leans into the goofiness and humor of the character's concept from the very beginning. Since the origin story is already out of the way, they can dive right into the humor. The standout joke in this film comes in the final battle, when Venom and Eddie argue with each other while Carnage and Shriek are waiting for them to finish.
Oh, shit! Where you going? That is a red one! You need to come out right now. I will let you eat everybody! Promise! I promise! Oh, yeah!
While both movies have great jokes, Let There Be Carnage has more and gets the jokes going early on. That's a point for Let There Be Carnage.
Oh, yeah!
Round 2, Villains. This is probably the easiest category to decide the winner of, but let's discuss the details anyway. A superhero, or anti-hero in this case, is only as good as their villain. Let's see the big bads that Venom has gone up against. In 2018's Venom, the two main villains were Carlton Drake and Riot, which basically just combined into Riot. They were the leader of the Life Foundation that did sinister experiments on symbiotes, and Riot's design, while similar to Venom's, was actually really cool. There was also Roland Treese. You don't know who that is? Can't blame you. He was the bald guy working for Drake who had no superpowers or symbiotes of any kind. To put it lightly, both villains, while menacing, were not particularly deep, and did not get the audience to care for them. Meanwhile, Let There Be Carnage was literally named after the main villains, Carnage and Cletus Cassidy. They were supported by Shriek, aka Francis Bearson. Cletus Cassidy, while a serial killer and psychopath, was extremely sympathetic, especially near the end of the movie, and had a lot of screen time throughout the movie. Carnage was set up as Venom's son, and the way he was created is really interesting, as Cletus bit Eddie and got some of Venom into him. Finally, Shriek is a welcome addition to the ensemble, as a non-symbiote villain and love interest to Cletus. Her relationship to Cletus provided a sort of Bonnie and Clyde psychotic element to these villains that's not really present in other superhero villains in this era. Let There Be Carnage easily gets this point.
Oh, yeah!
On to round 3, horror elements. A movie starring Venom needs to heavily feature horror elements. Generally speaking, Venom is a terrifying villain, and his rogues gallery isn't exactly a fashion show, if you know what I mean. Luckily, both movies do horror really well, but one does it significantly better than the other. The first Venom movie started off with a serious and somber tone that was clearly used to build suspense and horror. Throughout the movie, Riot is constantly switching hosts on his journey to the Life Foundation building, possessing and killing an old woman and a little girl, along with countless others. The Life Foundation experiments are also extremely horrific, with homeless people being brought in for experimentation, against their will, and dying when symbiotes stop their organs from functioning. Seeing Carlton Drake and Riot combine in the final 30 minutes just gives the audience chills after seeing what the horrific duo could already do when separate. As mentioned in round 1, Let There Be Carnage focuses heavily on humor. While there certainly are horrific scenes, such as Carnage's jailbreak and him eating a preacher, the horror elements have clearly been dialed down this time around, probably as a result of the wide audience that the first movie garnered. This point is well earned by Venom 2018. Round 4, the semifinals, Originality. One of the biggest, if not the biggest, problems with the superhero genre is the lack of originality. Most movies heavily feature quips, action pieces, and flashy after credit scenes. While the MCU, or Marvel Cinematic Universe, is most responsible for this phenomenon, other franchises such as the DC Extended Universe and the later X-Men movies followed suit on this trend. Standing out as a Marvel movie is a tall order, but which Venom movie does so the best? 2018's Venom released before the era of anti-heroes. While Deadpool had come before, later successes such as Joker and Loki hadn't yet released. This movie ushered in a new era of superhero movies featuring, usually reformed, villains. While Venom is clearly portrayed as the hero of this story, he does some horrific things like, eating people's heads off. Additionally, the lesson focused on comedy makes this movie stand out from other 2018 superhero flicks like Black Panther and Aquaman. The movie also tries to tell a story of a villain while avoiding the hero he's associated with, a device only seen so far by It, Joker, and next year's Black Adam, which avoid Spider-Man, Batman, and Shazam respectively. Finally, the way the story unfolds is quite unheard of for a superhero movie, with the hero's superpowers only coming in after 40 minutes of introduction and world building. Meanwhile, Let There Be Carnage released after successes such as Joker and Loki, and it doubled down on tried and true superhero tropes, such as quips and constant action. While the movie's faster pace and lower runtime do make it stand out compared to most superhero blockbusters, it's just not as original and unique as the first Venom was. Round 5, Plot/Pacing. Our final, and let's be honest, the most important, category of analysis is plot and pacing. Both aspects are always necessary for a great movie. This is the final round, and both movies are neck and neck, so whoever wins this round wins the tournament. Venom 2018 has a unique plot and really stands its own when compared to other superhero/villain movies. There is no movie out there that is really like it. Taking that into consideration, its plot is fantastic. However, there are a few flaws here and there. For one, the pacing is a bit lopsided. The beginning of the movie is way more exposition and Eddie Brock heavy than the last half, which is focused on symbiotes and way heavier on action. There's also a time jump of 6 months after the first 10 to 20 minutes, which does raise some questions. Specifically, why did Riot keep the same body for 6 months? Venom, Let There Be Carnage has a much more streamlined plot that remains consistent throughout. Granted, that fast pace can feel neck-breaking at times, and may hint at deleted plot points, such as more elaboration on the Carnage symbiote. However, the short runtime and speedy pace keep the movie feeling fresh and action-packed throughout. This category is more of a pick-your-poison type scenario, and personally, I believe that Let There Be Carnage had better and more balanced pacing.
Oh, yeah!
And so the winner of the JM Comics 01 Venom vs. Venom Let There Be Carnage tournament is Let There Be Carnage. Due to better humor, a better villain or better villains, and better plot and pacing, Venom Let There Be Carnage is better than its sequel, but not by a wide margin, as the sequel does nail horror elements and originality. Before you go, I'd like to point out that I really love both Venom movies, and picking one over another was painful to me. When my brain says Let There Be Carnage is a better film, there's also a part of me that really enjoys the horrific nature of the first one. Anywho, both are amazing, and you should go watch them if you haven't. Stay tuned for their after credit scenes, especially in Let There Be Carnage. Also, look out for a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate video on the channel sometime soon, and the two Metroid related videos that should release in the near future. JM Comics out.